In the news tonight, 5 new cases confirmed. COVID-19 misinformation worries authorities. And search on for 5 missing at sea.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Naka.
Bulawinaka, Fiji. 5 new COVID-19 cases have been reported as of midday. These are members of one household in Monikoso, Nasinu. One of these cases is an employee of Extra Supermarket. The Ministry of Health says all 5 of these cases have been under home quarantine following the discovery of the cluster last week. Contact tracing investigations are ongoing. The ministry adds their contact tracing for case 190, who was announced yesterday from the Vunimono Nandali cluster, has been identified as a potential high-risk case for transmission. He's a driver for a security company and was working until Wednesday. The ministry says therefore the public should expect extensive contact tracing activities ongoing in the Suvanosori area. There are now 62 active cases in isolation. And Koroi Tandulala joins us live now. Koroi, some concerns have been raised against individuals who were advised to self-isolate or remain in their homes, but they've been flouting this directive. What can you tell us?
Indeed, we have received reports that some are not following these and have been dispersing from their homes. Permanent Secretary for Health, Dr. James Fong, confirms that they are aware of these instances and they are dealing with the issues. Dr. Fong adds that they've also roped in RFMF personnel as well as police to monitor these situations and ensure that people follow the rules in place. As it stands, we have 62 active COVID-19 cases in isolation. On another note, the Kamikamida Health Center in Lautoka has been fully decontaminated and it will be operational from 8 a.m. tomorrow. Edwin.
Minaka Koroi, concerns have been raised on misinformation, undermining national efforts to contain the second wave of COVID-19. 4 people have died in Fiji and millions around the world. The Health Ministry is worried deliberate attempts to misguide people could lead to a rising death toll locally. Apanisa Wangai Randovo reports the ministry is wary of unreliable sources of information spreading like wildfire.
This outbreak is more serious than anything we faced before.
According to the Permanent Secretary for Health, evidence of the deadly virus is clear and undeniable.
I personally find it really hard to understand how anyone could not think it's real. Because the only way Fiji will know it's real is if it comes here and starts killing a lot more people. And we don't want that.
Dr. Fong has also rubbished claims that Fiji is only using the pretense of COVID-19 to secure international aid.
The only reason a lot of this aid is available is because there are other countries that have seen the problem, they recognize the problem, they've seen its devastating effects on other people, and they've made it available.
Others have said there is no need for vaccination, relying on their religious beliefs and claiming that Fiji can only be saved through prayer. However, the largest Christian denomination in Fiji has warned its members COVID-19 is real and people must take cue from the health ministry.
We always work by the proof of what we can share. We appreciate what and the Ministry of Health trying their best to contain the virus.
Health Minister Dr. Ifremi Wangenambete has called on people to choose wisely what information to consume from social media because it has an impact on their efforts to keep Fiji COVID contained. Apenisa Wangardobu, FBC News.
And students will not be returning to classrooms anytime soon, with the Education Ministry extending the closure of schools for a month. With increasing numbers of COVID-19 cases, the ministry is taking no chances. For more, we join Kritika Kumar live.
Edwin, the schools Fiji-wide will reopen on June 21st. Parents, teachers and students are being urged to take heed of the advisories. The schools closed on April 20th as a precautionary measure after a few cases of COVID-19 were announced. Education Minister Rosie Akbar has stressed that the safety and well-being of students and teachers is paramount. Health Ministry's Permanent Secretary Dr. James Fong had earlier indicated that a decision on the reopening of the schools will be made on the 24th of this month. However, seeing the increasing number of cases on an almost daily basis, the authorities have deemed it fit to close the schools for an entire month. Edwin.
Naka Kritika. The Fiji Navy today boosted search and rescue operations for 5 missing crew members of a fishing vessel along the Mamanuda Yasawa waters. FBC News has received information that a horrific incident occurred on the vessel that prompted 6 people to jump overboard. Josiah Nanunga reports the Navy, on the 3rd day of searching, has exhausted almost every avenue available.
The Fiji Navy Search and Rescue Team has been combing the area since Wednesday, searching for 5 people.
Next year for today, tomorrow will be much more difficult because that diminishes the chances of the persons in the water with survival.
FBC News understands there was an altercation on the vessel and the crew members jumped overboard for their own safety. The Navy commander says the safety of officers on the ground is also paramount, and the bad weather that prevailed in most parts of the group over the past 2 days has somehow delayed their search and rescue effort.
The crew that had jumped aboard had been in the water for more than 3 days, and the rate of survival would be at risk now.
FBC News this afternoon approached the fishing company. However, management won't disclose any details until they thoroughly investigate the incident and speak with the 3 rescued crew members. A reliable source this morning told FBC News that the 3rd survivor was on a raft before naval officers came to the rescue. Police has also confirmed that his crew member has been taken into custody pending investigation. Josiah Nanunga, FBC News.
Military personnel and police have set up checkpoints at all shortcuts in the Nandali area leading to Nosori town. This comes as youth were found to be breaching the containment area to sneak into town. Village Chairman Viliame Wainingolo says the checkpoints will ensure no one tries to leave the area. Sanya Nimboila reports.
Crossings between Nandali and Hudi South that lead to Nosori are now monitored with regular foot patrols as well.
We are working to ensure that the virus does not reach the village. That is why most villages are working closely with police and the military officials to ensure all crosscuts are monitored.
Nandali resident Waisian Wudhu says going into the 3rd day of lockdown, the only visitors they receive are the health ministry officials.
Totally new to asking the ambulance coming in and out, and it's not just they are coming in and out every day. So what we have been advising and what the medical minister health officers that are going around have been advising us to stay indoors, kids and family members to stay indoors.
16 families received ration packs this morning as distributions continue to other houses currently on lockdown. There have been a total of 21 cases from Nandali, the highest from any community in Fiji. Sainia Nimboila, FBC News.
Up ahead, community takes up COVID-safe measures. And more hygiene equipment received. Welcome back. The adoption of technology is helping in the fight against COVID-19, reaching even those on remote islands. Attorney General Aya Syed Kayum says this prepares Fiji for the post-COVID situation when a lot of countries will be competing to attract investment opportunities. Koray Tandulala reports.
The government is pre-positioning the country for the post-COVID-19 environment.
Everybody, of course, will be, scrambling for the investment, for the dollar. And also during this period too, there are people who are looking for safer destinations in respect of health.
Aya Syed Kayum says while they are encouraging businesses to be innovative, they're also playing their part to build back better.
We have been expending some funds in that space. Incidentally, recently our company's office won the Corporate Registrars Forum Innovation Award because our company's office basically gone online. So those are the kind of building blocks in respect of our response to the pandemic, and indeed our ability to be able to respond to the pandemic because of the kind of backbone we've built in recent times.
We've seen a wide range of interest in terms of international markets, but specifically the 3 expos that we have run, we have interest on health products, noni products, moringa, designer wear, cover, garments, food and beverage.
The government is also working with the private sector and other stakeholders to ensure Fiji is prepared to attract investors post-COVID-19. Coraitan Dulala, FBC News.
People who are due to receive the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine can go to their nearest vaccination site. The Ministry of Health has clarified that it's not compulsory that people receive the second dose from the same site where they received their first one. It says individuals can simply go to the nearest vaccination site or contact 158. The ministry adds a reminder for the date of the second dose will be sent to those who received their first jab and had registered on the digital system. Individuals can check their vaccine card to confirm their date of the second dose of vaccination. The ministry has started administering the second dose this month. 20,000 COVID-19 vaccines arrived from Australia last night, with a further 30,000 to arrive tomorrow. The Sasawira Farm Road community in Nakasi has stepped up to help authorities ensure people in the area adhere to COVID-19 protocols. Residents have taken the initiative to set up a checkpoint, taking temperature readings, ensuring people sanitize, wear masks and have their Care Fiji app activated. Kelly Vadala reports.
This community believes it's everyone's responsibility to fight COVID and have restricted unnecessary movement.
We have seen that there are some people moving around from our shortcut roads. That is why we are putting the checkpoints all around here with the help of all our volunteers.
The Sasawira Farm Road Crime Prevention Committee says they are being guided by police and health officials.
Each and every temperature, the name and where you came from are being recorded in the book.
Residents have also jumped on board to show support, actively taking on some responsibilities.
It's really good, I really support them because it's really protect the community and also people from outside from entering in.
Here to note every people moving around, and we're just trying to help our community that is doing very good work.
I just want to play my part in society and help keep my neighbors safe.
Some of these volunteers have been laid off work and the committee is providing food items in return. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
The provision of disinfectants, sanitizers, soap and other supplies will help control the outbreak of COVID-19 before it spreads further. While receiving supplies, Minister for Health Dr. Ifiremi Wangai-Nambete thanked the United States Agency for International Development and UNICEF for their assistance. Dr. Wangai-Nambete says the items will be used by health facilities and various locations where frontline staff are working. He says the supplies are useful to medical personnel and frontline staff who need to be protected from COVID-19.
In our health facilities at the moment and also in the isolation facilities, it is imperative that they are cleaned rigorously and hygienically, and therefore we go through this detergents and equipment very quickly. The turnover is actually quite fast.
Coming up in world news, truce between Israel and Palestinians and no end to India's woes.
Barbershops in Lambasa have been issued closure notice by the town council. The shop owners were advised by council officers that their business is categorized as non-essential and high risk. Bulla Barbershop owner Dev Anand says they don't understand why they have to close down as Lambasa is not affected by COVID-19. He told FBC News this is their main source of income and closing down would mean no cash for their family. Lambasa and Savu Savu Special Administrator Doreen Robinson says they were advised to invoke the conditions set out in a government gazette issued last Friday. The gazette lists barbershops and beauty parlors among internet cafes, bars, gaming shops, movies and theaters amongst high-risk businesses. Here the local exchange rates are set early this morning. The Fiji dollar rose against the Chinese yuan, US greenback and the PNG kina. It lost ground against our two major trading partners, the Aussie and Kiwi dollars, as well as the euro and the Japanese yen. Prices declined on the commodities market. Crude oil dropped at $61 a barrel. Gold dropped a few dollars at $1,870 per ounce. And silver closed down at $27.62 per ounce. And we now join Sunifa from HFC Bank to give us the latest Aussie and Kiwi figures from the money markets.
Good evening. The Australian and New Zealand dollars, which are near multi-year highs as high commodity prices and strong pandemic recoveries provide support, look to close the week broadly steady. Amid a lack of major catalysts at home, the Kiwi followed the Aussie moves and US Treasury yields for fresh impulse. The Aussie struggles to justify April's upbeat preliminary retail sales for Australia amid mixed purchasing managers' index figures from Commonwealth Bank for May. Meanwhile, the US dollar was pinned near milestone lows and headed for a weekly loss as traders' initial concerns at taper talk in Federal Reserve minutes faded while pandemic recovery boosted other currencies. With a light calendar and dead feeds, traders may keep their eyes on the US PMIs amid hopes of witnessing another risk-on session during the US trading day. That's all for the week from HFC Bank, Vinaka.
The Ministry of Transport has eased access to Land Transport Authority services to relieve the burden on Fijians. Minister Fayez Koya says they have published regulations to extend the validity of any permit, license, certificate or registration. These apply to renewals on or after the 14th of May 2021, but before the 14th of August 2021. Koya says the extension includes prerequisite requirements.
With regards to your vehicle registration, the Accident Compensation Commission levy and the road user levy will be extended with your registration. Similarly, for driver's licenses, the defensive driving requirement will also be extended with the registration.
And that is the latest from my end, but coming up after the break, Fiji stays the course on climate change. Stay with us.
Welcome back. In the face of the global pandemic, Fiji will press ahead and walk the talk, says Prime Minister Voreqe Bainimarama. Speaking at the Commonwealth Pacific Leaders Regional Roundtable, including Prince Charles, the Prime Minister highlighted Fiji will mobilize domestic resources, innovate capital market instruments such as green bonds and financing arrangements through bilateral and multilateral partners. Bainimarama says Fiji will continue to chart the way forward in its commitment to stronger nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement. He adds the National Adaptation Plan maps out a multi-billion-dollar effort to strengthen climate resilience. He adds extreme biodiversity loss, frequent and intense weather events, and sea level rise are setting back socio-economic progress that have been painstakingly built over decades. Working on reduced hours is no obstacle for a Suva barista providing for her family. With the financial constraints posed by COVID-19, 29-year-old Paula Toro says having a job is a lifeline for her as she is now the only one earning. Jeshulal reports Toro, who works at the Coffee Bean, hopes to start her own business one day.
The struggle to put food on the table is what drives this barista to work every day, despite the dangers of COVID-19.
At the moment, I'm the only one working. There used to be 4 of us, and the rest of the other 3 have been laid off, unfortunately, because of this crisis that we're facing. So I'm thankful that at least I have a job.
Making ends meet has become a challenge, but Toro has had to be smarter about how she spends.
We have to cut down on the foods that we used to get before. We have to change our groceries a little bit because the prices of food and the wages.
She is happy she still has this job to support her family.
At the moment, my mom is the only one working. So my other siblings have, just one sibling, have moved back home since he has been laid off.
Business has been slow with the Coffee Bean, reporting an almost 95% reduction in sales. However, Toro is determined to help the business survive. Jeshulal, FBC News.
And in Q&A tonight, Koroi Tandulala speaks with Permanent Secretary for Environment on food waste reduction.
Thank you, Mr. Wycliffe. Reducing food waste is an important aspect towards achieving our sustainable development goal. Now, what aspect of reducing food waste should we look at?
There are two things we talk about food waste, is producing food or food products beyond what we need. That's a key.
Now, what approach is the ministry taking to ensure that we reduce our food waste?
In terms of the waste that is generated, we've done a few very innovative programs. Fiji is aware of the most recent exercise program that we designed and launched. First sector we worked with and we started initial relationship was with the food sector.
And finally, what would it take to ensure that we are on path towards achieving this very ambitious goal?
It's an approach by at least three parties. The government, yes, and government has already taken the initiative to work with the private sector and with the public. And how we go about doing that is, of course, raising the communication campaign through campaigns and raising communication awareness through communication.
And Friday Night Sports now with Jamie.
Thank you and good evening in sports tonight. Young USA-based fly half eyes Nrua jumper and Israel-based Fijian footballer returns home. This and more coming up. Former Naita Siri fly half Tuinraki Samusamu Vonre has signed a one-year contract with the New England Free Jacks. He was offered a 2-year deal, but Samusamu Vonre opted for a 12-month stint so that he's available for the Fijian Nrua in Super Rugby. Speaking exclusively to FBC Sports from the USA, the Namotomoto Nandi villager says he is looking forward to the new journey. Venina Rakautonga reports.
Samusamu Vonre, who made the Flying Fijians touring squad for the Autumn Nations Cup last year, is interested in the Nrua.
Lives an expectation.
Had initially signed with Dallas, but they couldn't move up to the Major League Rugby, so that contract had been terminated, and I signed a one-year deal with New England Free Jacks. 1 year so that I may be able to be available for the Fijian Nrua, so I am wanting to play in the next Super Rugby season.
It's the first professional contract for the 23-year-old, and he is eager to learn.
There's a lot of expectation. I have competing in the MLR. There's a lot of players that play in big unions are also playing here. They have a lot of contribution to this competition that I can learn from, like game structures, skill level, possession skills, and details in your job as a player.
Skill level ni.
One of the players he can learn from is Olympian Masivesi Ndakuwanga.
Whenever an opportunity presents itself, be smart about it and take it. Don't think twice. It's for your development as a player and good for your future.
Samusamu Vonre completed his quarantine on Tuesday and yesterday met with officials from his new club. Benina Rakautonga, FBC Sports.
The All Black Sevens defeated Australia 14-5 in Game 1 of 6 in Auckland, New Zealand today. Both teams are using the opportunity as they build up to the Olympic Games. Fiji's first professional female footballer, Trina Davis, who recently joined Israel-based club ASA Tel Aviv, has been forced to cut her adventure short. The welfare of players remains a priority for Nanranga football. With competitions on hold, the association has exhausted its cash reserves and is now finding new ways to provide for players during this difficult time. Talay Matarikula with this report.
The association has pledged to stick by its players.
The only thing we thought about doing now was to give some sort of grocery hamper package to the boys, and we have done that with some very kind people, some kind businessmen who are helping in this.
This will substitute the players' weekly wages.
We will try to continue doing this week by week, as long as we don't want the players to be sleeping hungry. It will go as a substitute to the weekly money we were supposed to give to the players, because at the moment the sponsors have not shown any further interest.
The assistance couldn't be more timely for the players who solely depend on football.
It's really a hard time for us, and like plenty players, football is whatever they depend on, like for money and all. And this is the right time, and we really appreciate whatever you have done for us today.
Nandrunga players are doing their own training until the government gives the green light for the ease of physical distancing requirements. Talia Materakula, FBC Sports.
Well, most sporting federations are enduring disruptions to their sporting calendar for the 2021 season. Suva Volleyball Association are glad they were able to complete their season before the lockdown kicked into effect. They are now hoping their new 2021-22 season, scheduled to start in September, will begin as planned. President Kemueli Naingama says after a successful season that ended in April, they are hopeful the health ministry will be able to contain the virus so things may return to normal.
Do not see anything that will affect our next season. It's only what we'll miss is Rafael Saketket will be not part of it, of that journey.
Former Mbati props Daniel and Jacob Saifiti's efforts were not enough for the Knights as they were beaten by the Cowboys 32-20 in their NRL Round 11 match last night. More than 80% of people in Japan want the Tokyo Olympics to be called off. Opposition to the Games appears to be increasing as Japan endures a fourth wave of COVID infections. The International Olympic Committee insists the Games will be safe to go ahead in July as planned. Now the play of the day, and just like their male counterparts, the New Zealand women's sevens side defeated Australia 19-0 today. Its defense was the highlight of the first match with this try from Ruby Tui, a result of the team's tenacious efforts. In our quirky sport of the day, cheese rolling. If you're a cheese lover, then this sport from Gloucester, England might interest you. However, you do need to win to get the cheese. That's it from Sports Tonight. Up ahead in Weird and Wonderful, a giant panda's time to shine. Details after the break.
Showers and thunderstorms were experienced over most places today. Cloudy conditions with some showers and afternoon or evening thunderstorms in the Western Division, along with isolated heavy falls which may lead to flash flooding. Eastwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, similar conditions will prevail with a caution of flash flooding. In the north, no major change from the other centres. And at sea, for southwest Viti Levu waters, Kandavu Passage, Koro Sea and southern Lau waters, east to northerly winds 20 to 25 knots, gusting to 30 knots. Rough to very rough seas, moderate southerly swells, poor visibility in areas of heavy showers and thunderstorms. The next high tide is at 2:27 a.m. tomorrow, with low tide at 8:23 a.m. Sunrise is at 6:30. The outlook for tomorrow, occasional showers with a few thunderstorms and isolated heavy falls over Kandavu, Lau and Lomai Viti Group, Tavyuni and eastern parts and interior of Viti Levu and Vanua Levu. Isolated heavy falls may lead to flash flooding of low-lying areas. And for Sunday, similar conditions will prevail. And in the world of the weird and the wonderful, a giant panda cub in the United States will welcome his first visitors when the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. reopens. And recapping our main stories, 5 new cases of COVID-19, search on for missing fishing vessel crew, and tighter security in Nandali area. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station, Gold FM. To our poll question, this week we are asking, has the Suva Nosori curfew helped contain COVID-19? Visit our FBC News website to answer. You can also send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts. You can also download our FBC News app to keep updated with the very latest in news and sports and listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news this evening. I'll see you again next week. Until then, stay safe. Odemanda.